Hey, hopefully the audio is okay on this. I don't know, man. Well, I don't know. I'm just planning on doing like this as a one take thing, so this is gonna be scuffed as all hell, but I mean that just makes it a rev and upload. That just makes it a rev and upload. Oh wow, it's like 98% of my other stuff now. Anyways, uh, I I don't really know what actually I'm gonna call this video, but I just kind of wanted to I don't know, have a place to kind of put some closing thoughts, I guess. Because I think there were a few things at the time that I didn't quite get to express, because I think my departure was kind of abrupt. So I don't know. I think this was just I just had a few kind of thoughts on a few things, and I just kind of wanted to say that. Uh, so I think first and foremost, and this is kind of, I think what got me inspired me to make this was, I had some people, some friends and such come and ask me, they're like, do you think you're gonna do Redstone again? Um, and so I guess that's kind of where I want to at least start with all this because I planned for this like not at all. So it's fine, right? Right. Anyhow, uh, and so I think the gist of it is no. Uh, I think I think maybe to kind of explain that because I think for some of my friends and such, I've been at this for quite a while, for like 5 years or something, and that's just like on this channel. I've been doing Redstone for longer than that, and so I feel like me leaving is kind of unorthodox because it's kind of my thing. Um, but I just kind of wanted to talk a bit about I don't know, just kind of how we ended up here, um, if just for my sake, if nothing else. Uh, so I think a lot of where this kind of comes from, like where this starts, was I got kind of interested uh, in computer science in middle school. Uh, and I think there was a couple different kind of reasons for that, but one of the big kind of issues with that, as it were, was like I'm like dyslexic, so I'm not great with words and such. So I think coding was coding is not great for me. Like I'm not great at coding. Uh, just because, and especially I think when I was younger, I had a lot of issues where, it's like two things that were different would look the same to me, if it was written text. And so it's like, when you're having to write code and it needs to be like very character specific and such, it's not a great combination. um, and so that's kind of where this whole Redstone thing started. Was because I was like, oh well, there's this game I like, this Minecraft, and I get like the 3D space, and it's like, the same kind of puzzles and stuff. And so that's kind of where this all comes from. And then I think I kind of got influenced a lot by Technoblade, and that's where this channel comes from. And that's I know a lot of people have commented that on my voice, like, oh my gosh, you sound so much like Technoblade. Um, It's a funny story actually. One of my old friends, still a friend, Enzo, he actually thought I was I was techno back then. And that's also like how I learned about techno's channel. Actually, fun Revan lore was I had an IRL friend who was like, "Hey, you sound like this YouTuber I know." Uh, I would say that I don't. I think I've lost a little bit of that. I'm not quite as techno as I used to be. I think that's for various reasons, but so I think that kind of it just put me in this space of like wanting to make a story, I think. And I think that's kind of the best way I can describe my inspiration for all of this. Um, and that's definitely kind of like what got me to some of these. Also, don't mind my skin in this. I'm not going to explain that. This was an era of Revan of all time. Um, but I think this is why I kind of was like, I wanted to take on larger projects, uh, but for various reasons, I really started to slow down 4 years ago. I think some of that was his death, and that's kind of where this all started. And I never wanted to point it out at the time because I never wanted it to be like a clout thing. But I feel like now that I'm retired, maybe I can finally explain what LMT means because I've had some people ask me, and I'm just like never mentioned it before. um, but that's always been like in loving memory of Technoblade. That's where that comes from. Uh, I didn't include the eye, but you get the rest of it. And that's kind of been the naming scheme I've used for all my computers since. Uh, just because that's kind of where this all comes from. Is kind of wanting to reach this place and wanting to tell this story. But I think along the way things kind of took a turn in a bad direction. Like especially when I started to get into the community more, because I kind of went through this phase where at the beginning I was very kind of isolationist or whatever. I really worked, you know, alone, and uh, I really didn't like having to like rely on other things. Like an interesting fact actually was I didn't even like want to use mods back then. I had a friend, Sterling or Sleepy Longfish, who was the one who finally convinced me to get World Edit. And so that's how this was possible. And I think that's part of why I did the 256-bit, because I was like, oh my god, I have so much power now. I can make something that's 256-bit. Because like even here, like this was, I'm pretty sure, actually this might have been like in transition, but through this maybe or maybe sometime during this is like I'm pretty sure that version I might have built that whole thing by hand like in the thumbnail. I think that's just kind of my disposition at the time. Was I was very kind of, I want to say like purist about certain things, and just very particular about kind of my environment and what I use. So that's kind of um, I don't know, something I got my friends got me to change, um but anyway, so I went through this period of being like very kind of on my own to kind of more in the community-ish and then kind of back to on my own. Um and kind of the reason for this is, I start out and I'm kind of doing my own thing. uh, And then I kind of start like exploring, and I find some people online and such. Uh, and that kind of gets me into the community. And then I had some pretty bad experiences in the community. Um, like I had some work stolen and such, and so that's kind of what led me to really kind of going back out of the community. And that's why I still say that I was self-taught, because even when I was in the community, I was always kind of at an arm's length, and I didn't really interact with people a whole lot, which looking back might have been a better decision than I realized at the time. Um, I think too there were some kind of questions because I had some, about that and work being stolen, but also um, about like this the kind of comment that that led to that video. Because I made a response to, there was someone who was kind of trying to defend me in the comments, and I was like, nah. And I had some friends kind of come to me afterwards and talk to me a bit about that and being like, oh, that guy was in the wrong, or this and that. Um, but also, that kind of led to the overarching question of kind of why. And I think maybe that's something that's kind of important to explain, because I think especially for a while there I was, it's like I think my goal was I wanted to, well, I mean, I wanted to be like techno. uh, I think that definitely shows in my work and such. I know that a lot of you have kind of mentioned that. And that's always been very much my DNA. And so I think there was a lot of things that were happening kind of behind the scenes, like, uh, with interacting with other people or with my health or things like that, that I always kind of felt like I wanted to kind of keep under wraps just because I felt like I didn't want to become like a drama channeler or something. That was never the goal. And maybe that was the right decision, or maybe not, or maybe I'm just being a coward. I don't know, man. Feel free to make your own decisions on that. Uh, but I think I definitely kind of kept that, and that's always kind of been a part of this. Is like I never wanted to go super drama, which I know is kind of what happened here. Uh, I think in a sense this was just like, and something too I don't think I mentioned about this video was I had a hard deadline for when I had to get this video out. I'm not going to go too into depth as to why, but there was a very hard deadline. And so I was planning this video where I was finally going to, get this get this demo working on Pinnacle, and then I saw I kind of had a wrench thrown in the works. Uh, and so that kind of derailed it. And I think that led to a lot of this video being not as polished as it could have been. Uh, like there are definitely some things, especially around the ending, just because that's kind of the part that I had to redo last minute, uh, because obviously uh, that did not. I had to change the script a bit, and so there were definitely some things. And this, I know this is a bit of a tangent, but like especially around the ending, like I know there were some kind of comments about like uh, kind of like my closing statements about things being the fastest or not being the fastest. And one of the things that I feel like too, that I didn't get a great chance to clarify was actually Ultima. Let's see, where is it? Yeah. Uh, because there was like some, especially from that one comment, questions surrounding like that versus Iris. And I think one of the things that I kind of left out in my explanation there was like, I think one for the video, uh, there was this. I think it's when you're trying to approach a broad audience, it's kind of hard to like real world performance is a very squirrely thing, because you can say, because I think if I just presented, like Iris, I think that really needs to lead into a bigger conversation because, in of itself, it's like on paper, what makes Iris have the real world performance is, um oh God, I think this is just a dyslexia thing. I don't remember the order of the letters of this. I always get this wrong. I want to say MCHPRS. Is that right? Is it MHCPR? I don't know. You guys know what I'm talking about, though. Oh wait, it's MC Minecraft. Jesus Christ, I'm so smart. Oh, I can acronym. Anyways, because it's like, because without that, then it's like not. And so I think just because I was having to rewrite the script, I kind of brushed over that and judgment call. And, maybe I don't think that was the right decision. I do think that led to some confusion, and then uh, because it's like you're comparing something where it's like I don't know, like Iris has like a non-modded performance of like 200 ticks, but when you do speed up, then it shrinks to you know whatever exactly it is. I forgot the spec off the top of my head. It's been a while. um, but I think too there was also something that I kind of made a comparison between like it and Ultima at the end about like them being similar performance. And I think one of the things that I forgot to mention there was like Iris is 16-bit and Ultima is 8, and Ultima, by design of the architecture is 8. And so I think an important thing and something that's not really talked about with Iris is that, ultimately it is a balanced system. You know, um, like they didn't just splurge to like, have maximum clock speed. They didn't just make like a 1-bit CPU It'd be like, oh my gosh, guys, it's so fast. Like, no, it's it's actually like a system that had like time and thought and effort put into it. Um, so, so I think kind of one of the important things when I was saying that there is, it might be kind of comparable in speed is like I'm comparing an 8-bit Ultima to a 16-bit Iris. So it's more like I thought that it would be, kind of within that range of being like half as fast, uh, which I think is kind of, I don't know. I just realized that was kind of one of the things too that I felt like I wanted to come back to this and kind of make some clarifications. Because I definitely feel like I missed a few things. Uh, but yeah. Oh, and also actually that reminds me there was something else I wanted to mention about Ultima, which is I mentioned that it could be kind of run at like 5 hertz sporadically. Um, but I think really the important part about Ultima is that it was never meant to run at 5 hertz. And ultimately, this is just like a memory problem, because if you add on more memory, then it takes longer for the signal to travel through that memory. So you kind of have to slow down the clock speed, or yeah, unless you did like a multi-forwarding setup, which I would, that's an idea of all time. Um, but the point is that I think Ultima only had like 7 registers anyway, so it was never really like it was a possibility, and I kind of debated some setups where you might be able to like use instructions to cause it to turbo, um, but it was never meant to operate that fast. Just because if you did have that, and if you tried to like do a kind of like a multi-threading thing where it operate, it switches each tick, or I don't know, something like that, um, or even if you just tried to pipeline it wouldn't really have the memory to make that logical, sensible in any way. Uh, Anyways, though, circling back around to kind of why I'm not coming back, I think the thing is things really weren't great. I think too behind the scenes, because there was on there was me interacting with the community, which wasn't great, and then so just personally there was some health stuff, some things too that I feel like I've been kind of improving. Like seems like I've kind of susceptible to mold, and that's been a pretty big issue throughout most of my life. And I'm looking to move, and I'm doing some things to help myself now. But that's like I was pretty seriously mentally compromised for quite a while, and I think that's led to like yeah, and I think I tried to kind of script this out so it wouldn't be that bad, but I think I remember leaving in something where it was like I was trying to come up with like a different like a more specific name for like the infinite hertz, and I said something, and I really wanted it to be more specific to like the specific use of like trapdoors and such, and what I said was just like really general, and so I don't know why I even said that name, threw the name out there. That was just I don't know. Uh, but I think too, it's like when I was talking about this and about like 6 months, which I think it was actually longer than that. I think something that was kind of well, actually, it depends on how you look at it. I mean, arguably that development process was years, but um, we'll come back to that later, or maybe we won't. But I think one of the things that I didn't really mention was when I was working on this, and this is something that I really only ever mentioned to some my dad. I don't know. I tried to keep this kind of under wraps. I I would end up in these states where it was like there would be a component or something that I need to fix, and I would try, or maybe I did mention it on stream. I don't know, but I'd try and fix it, but I would like just create it in the exact same way, and then I would realize there was a problem again, and then I'd try and do the same thing, and that cycle would just repeat. Usually until I was like interrupted or something, and then I'd look back and I'd go like, "What the fuck?" Uh, so I've really been, I don't know, it's been a struggle, and there was definitely some of the last in a day stuff where it was like I kind of wanted to ramp up the ambition a bit because it was like I kind of felt like I didn't really know how much I had left in the tank, I guess. but there was definitely some things where it's like, I think maybe from an objective standpoint, it got like, more impressive over time. But like, what the fuck was like this decoder, you know? Like there was just some like brain dead shit where I was just like autopiloting it, which was not great. Um, so I don't know. I think throughout that time there was just a lot of just me being really really mad with myself, and then coming out of this and kind of I remember this quote actually. It's like in the pursuit of great, we fail to do good, and it's kind of like that where it's like at the end of the day, it's like I felt like I got so fixated on like achieving my goal through this one specific means that I've like forgot to achieve the goal at all. It's like all my uploads are shit. So it's so I think I just kind of ended up at this point where it's like I don't know. I think about like I switched to Linux a little while back, and then I switched back because I couldn't get certain things to run on Linux because I don't know. I'm not a Linux god like that. Um, and I thought about reinstalling Minecraft, and I just didn't because I was like, I feel like now whenever I sit down to play, I just feel like I'm gonna throw up or something because it's just I don't know. I just remember back to all those times and also kind of going down this computer rabbit hole, which I think for me was always kind of I think I think even just that wasn't really super true to myself just because I kind of the ethos of why I decided to pick Redstone was because I, my goal was never to turn it back into a programming problem. I know a lot of people come here, really have programming backgrounds, but I would say that my background was much more, like actual Minecraft. And so I think for a lot of them, it makes more sense, where they want to take it and then turn it back into a programming problem. But I think for me, that was really never the goal. So I don't know. I just feel like the last like 4 years have been just kind of shit. So I think too, it's like I could ignore all that, and I had because I felt like there was this thing and there was this goal, and I think I kind of got to that final destination, and I was like, it just wasn't there anymore. You know, it kind of became as I kind of talked about in this video, it kind of became rather mathematically impossible, which is kind of how we ended up here. So yeah, so that was the very my God, that was like 20 minutes of me saying that I'm not gonna do Redstone again. Oh yeah, God, I'm so concise. Yes, number one YouTuber right here. I think too also something I didn't mention was like I had a few comments and such. And I talked with some people and they'd kind of reached the same destination, years back. Because I think that's the thing that's important to note is like information in this community. Like there's some communities where they have like more proper documentation and such. Like I know like the door communities and such, they have like like indexable databases and such, of like door world records. Um, and naturally, that's not necessarily a perfect system either, because that would, it's only going to work for the people who choose to participate in it. But really, for this community, we don't have that at all. So it's like, I was talking to some other people, and they're like, oh no, you know, uh, like Infinite Hertz has actually existed for like I don't know, quite a while now. And and then they kind of been like, yeah, so we kind of arrived at that same place. It was cool to talk with them, and I think that kind of also got me to this point where it's like I don't know, I just feel like there was this kind of validation of like, this is the end. This is the final destination, as it were. Uh, So yeah, um, I feel like there was more things I was gonna say. Oh yeah, I know. I wanted to mention this too. I feel like, or was it in? I think it was in this video. There was a few things that I mentioned in this video that uh, I kind of mentioned that I was gonna make videos on, and then I just kind of got past releasing Pinnacle, and I was just done. So sorry about that. Uh, I think maybe that's something too I kind of want to touch on is I think I'm a lot less kind of utilitarian, I think is the right way to describe it when it comes to Redstone. It's like I kind of mentioned that you know the 8x8, the 8x9, whatever you want to call it, that adder was something I spent 6 months on. But I think it was probably just that major revision. I feel like the roots of that project were much more widespread. I think something that's important to kind of mention about that is that a lot of that time wasn't actually spent making it like smaller. Um, I think a lot of there's kind of this expectation of being very world record focused, and as much as I am kind of interested in these things, I think something that's important to note is that I think it was always my philosophy to run my own race. Uh, and so unlike some people where, it's like every time, when they get the new world record, they post about it. That was never really my plan. Like a lot of the times it wasn't really making it like objectively better, like a lot of the revisions, it wasn't making it smaller or making it like faster or things like that, because well, I mean, it's already, comparative priming. So not that that's really a super useful metric apart from like lag and such, but a lot of it was just there was a specific way that I wanted it to be. And I think maybe that's something to highlight is that it was just kind of I think the best way I can think to word it is I wanted it to be beautiful, which I think is kind of a not something that I've seen a lot of. Uh, so and I think that's kind of why I realized, because I ended up in this place where I really I really wasn't keen on it just because I kind of these parts and such, they have such a level of value to me that I hadn't really planned on, doing specific releases, and I didn't really think that there was much of a point in doing like specific releases, of like, oh, this is the world record when I got it, because well, for some parts there were, uh, but usually this was just because like I didn't really have something planned around this. But for something like this, I think more so than being like, ooh, I did this one thing, I wanted to make this story, and that's kind of what Pinnacle was and what all the LMTs were. Was I wanted to I, having it mean something. And I think I kind of realized, when I got to this point, and it's like, am I going to release it? Um, and I kind of talked with some friends, and they were, because I was kind of leaning away, and they were like, yeah, I think you should. Uh, and that was kind of predating these videos. But I think I just kind of got to that point, and there was definitely a part of me that was very against it, where it's like, this isn't worth it. But I think I just kind of realized I'm like, I think I'm done. I'm out. Uh, you know, and maybe I felt like there was one kind of last story that I could tell with this, and that's really what this video is about, and why it's 7.5 minutes long, and it's not like 1 minute of me just showing the build. Uh, I just kind of felt like it's like I'd given this thing that I'd spent so long working on, I just given it to the world, and I was like, okay, I think we're done here. Um, so yeah, I don't know how coherent this all was, but I guess that's kind of I think most of my closing thoughts on this. So I don't know. Thanks for listening to some guy rant. uh, yeah. So I'm not really sure what happens now. Uh, I think I think I want to focus on. I'm thinking about moving to be with some friends. Um, it's kind of funny. I think my health had always been so-so, and uh, something I really didn't talk about much was like, I have, uh, let's just say I've attempted before. Uh, so I think this whole like me being alive thing already kind of felt like some kind of weird joke. And I kind of figured it's like I was kind of on the down now, and I'm like, like okay, like what do you want to do? What do you want to finish before it ends? And then this was kind of it for me, and so it's kind of a surreal feeling of like being past that, being like, oh, okay, I'm still here. Like, what now? Sorry if that's kind of dark, but so I think I'm still trying to figure that part out. Uh, I don't know why I'm laughing. I feel like there's something just deeply absurd about all this. But so I don't know. I, I think I might try and move. Maybe do some of that having a life thing that people keep telling me about. You know, do normal stuff. I don't- Work on getting back on the wagon, finding work, finding maybe trying to pick up Japanese again because I've been wanting to learn. One day I kind of figured I might want to move. We'll see, but just stuff like that. Who knows? Maybe I'll even try and date. Can you imagine that? I can't imagine that. It's been too long. But yeah, yeah, I don't really know what happens now. I guess I guess we will see. I think too I've been debating getting rid of the Revan name. I don't know. It's funny. I think with all of this, it's become such a point of like it's like my greatest success and my greatest failure, you know. And it's like, man, what do you make of that? I feel like the Revan CH didn't really kind of come out quite as much as well as I wanted to, just because I think I've kind of been, uh, I don't know, my state has been not not good, uh, and I kind of realized it kind of inhibited me from having like my kind of normal stream time, upload schedule, this kind of thing. So not upload schedule as much, that's pretty lenient. You can kind of edit whenever, but definitely a streaming schedule. I don't know though. I'm thinking about maybe trying to try again with some stuff like that. Maybe I keep the name, maybe I don't. It's a very important name to me. It was when I say this, I don't mean it's not my name. It's very much my name now. But it belongs to an old friend. I got it from an old friend who oh well, doesn't matter. But I don't know. For the first time in a long time, I'm kind of sitting with this idea of starting over, which is weird. Really weird. So, I don't know. We'll see. I really do do still love Minecraft, and I loved my time here, and I love being called Revan. But I wonder if this is what people need from me, if that makes any sense. But I guess we'll see. So yeah, trying to think if there was anything else I wanted to say, since I don't imagine I'm going to be uploading past this point. Um, Thank you all for the comments. I know I've talked with some people from comments in this video, and I saw some new comments. I haven't really interacted with them. I saw some weird comments too. There was one guy who was like, like, just talk normally. I'm like, what does this even mean? I don't know. I got a lot of strange comments about my voice. Like, I can get the techno ones, especially because I feel like that video in specific was kind of, the script was definitely very techno inspired. But some of the other ones were like, oh my gosh, like I got some weird, like most enthusiastic voice and stuff. And it's like I'm just tired, man. That's why I sound so unenthused. But like, oh my gosh, talk normally. I'm like, what does that even mean? What does it mean? What is normal? I don't know. Like, I'm not like, do they think I'm using like a voice changer, or I'm like being super like performative or something? I feel like it's hard to imagine with this video because I feel like I sounded so like lifeless. So I don't know. Like it definitely wasn't like the your stereotypical like YouTuber voice, like high energy. Hey guys, welcome to a new video, kind of Mr. Beastification, whatever. So I don't know what it means. But yeah. Anyways, I think I think that was probably all I had to say. So, oh, that reminds me actually, there was one more thing I wanted to say. Um, this was a story I'd always kind of wanted to tell it on this channel, but I don't think I ever got a chance to. Um, Shout out Don Manuel. Okay, can we just say that for a minute? Like I know that probably no one is gonna agree with me, but in my opinion, like from everything that I've seen, like I would say that the best comp. Oh, I forgot to mention this too. I would say the best computational redstoner is Don Manuel. And in respect to what I said about stuff being stolen, I think I kind of mentioned where it's like I don't really want to go into drama, and I think especially now that I'm leaving, it's like I have no interest in digging that up. But if you do want to know, then my best advice is just go look. And I don't mean like go look and like look at the spec sheet and act holier than thou. I mean like actually like download the world files, like look at the composition of these things. There was stuff that I saw just from being in that community, but you can see like if you go and actually look, even in some of these higher up people, like you'll see it. I think I'll just leave it at that. So if you want to know what I mean, like that I think that's the best advice that I can give. Because I think that's another thing too. It's like there's so much stuff where it could be like written off as circumstantial, or like oh it was developed separately or stuff like that. So I'm not gonna go through the. I have really no interest in going through that whole nonsense. So if you do want to know the truth, then go look. I think I'll just leave it at that because I know that is well, I don't want to say this like it's not important to me, but I know that some people are very. How do I say that? How do I word this even? I don't know. Some people are gonna want to see what I mean. I guess that's the TLDR. Um, but anyways, shout out Don Manuel, and the story was like, um, so way back, kind of when I was like, first like thinking about kind of getting into, kind of first getting interested in the community. I tried to join OR, and you have to do this like builder's exam where essentially like you get a bigger plot and then you get like world edit after you finish this exam with them. And they kind of gate it off so like a random person can't like join in and then lag out the whole thing by just spamming world edit, which is like, fair enough. So they make you do this exam, so which shows that you're like the real Slim Shady and you actually like care about Redstone. Um, but at the time, it was like we had to type, which especially for me at the time, because I think I went through this period where I was very fast at typing, or I was relatively fast at typing, like because I was having to talk to a lot of people online, like especially through Minecraft, and then I think I kind of got onto Discord, my typing got worse, and then it kind of got a little bit better, but it was kind of like right at that peak of my typing being like egregiously slow, especially when you compare it to like a lot of the people on OR who come from computer science and software development and such. Um, and so I had to like type out responses to this guy, and he kept being like, "Oh, are you still there?" And I'm like, "Oh God, he's gonna think I'm googling all the answers." Um, and then I was just like straight up panicking. Like you're supposed to like part of it is like you have to like identify some circuits. I think I just called them all like T flip flops. I didn't even let him finish building. I was just so stressed. So that was a funny story. But the person who was evaluating me was Don Manuel. Still though, he's a really cool guy. I really like his work. We played Chessstone once. Actually, we played Chessstone twice. Uh, but yeah, I do have to say, I think one of my answers that I gave for that was like for the test that he marked as wrong was actually like right, but it was like not didn't make as much sense for computers, and like it's more of like a mental thing, and I can so I don't know. I think too it wasn't like the traditional way, so it's like okay, fair. I think maybe that's kind of a difference between us. Is like I think he's more traditional, but he's very crafty. Uh, Whereas I would say I'm kind of less traditional, but I'm pretty I'm kind of a basic bitch sometimes. I think I can like not that I've never done anything that requires any brain power, but like especially I think this really shows with the 8x8 was it's like it's a complicated thing and it uses some like high level techniques and such, like comparative priming or like the 15 priming, which uh, another thing though, it's like I don't know if that's been discovered elsewhere, or whatever, but that was something that I found on my own. Um, but like the actual like process of how it does the calculation is dirt simple. Like I talk about it in the thing, but it's like pretty much as simple as it could possibly be for a component like that. Like I think actually like the speedrun calculator, like if you look at this and like how it functions, like how the actual calculation is performed, it's like way more complicated. Like this is like you add the numbers together, you see if you need to carry out, you you like apply that, and then you modulus it. It's like uh, if you're not familiar with this stuff, that might not sound simple, but it's like it doesn't get more simple than that. So I think I think it's just kind of funny to me too. Um, but anyways, so shout out Don Manuel. Uh, that was another thing too. Was this was kind of like, uh, and that's kind of how Ultima came about. Was like I thought the MQ8 was really cool, so I was like taking a look at it, and I was like, ooh, what's here? Um, and so I started modifying it, and eventually that would turn into Ultima. And this is actually an old version. I have a much smaller version of Ultima. Um, but essentially, the only part that I actually kept was the adder that's at the core of that, which was uh, Don Manuel's adder. It's like his 3-tick adder, which is I think is wonderful. And maybe something too I want to clarify is like I don't think that I'm not under the impression. Actually, I don't exactly know. I don't know. Like when I say like I think Don Manuel's the best, I don't know if he like holds most world records or anything. But it's just like when you see his work, it's like if there was someone who could beat the records that are out there right now, it would surely be someone like Don. And I think I'm very, very firm in that conviction. That so I guess that's kind of what I mean, because he's very clever and he's made some really cool stuff. So shout outs to John. To I just said John, Don. Um, yeah. Anyways, that's probably enough of me fangirling. Uh, but yeah, I don't know. I think that's probably all I had to say. So I'm gonna stop rambling now. But if you did watch this far, thank you for thank you for watching. Thank you for caring. And I guess we'll see what happens here. I think once things get a bit better, I really do wanna give this internet thing another shot, like a real good shot. You know, I think once I can kind of get my brain functioning, uh, try with this whole like consistent uploads and such. Which I think was a lot of the issue here was like I was so focused on like the specific means that I kind of neglected this. When I do like making videos and such, and I used to do like sound design for a theater, and I really like that. But obviously, I neglected this pretty bad. Um, it's kind of ironic because like the sound in like all of my videos I think is terrible, but whatever. But it is what it is. So, but yeah, thank you all for watching, and see you again next time. Bye.